Hello, everyone. And here we are again, another wonderful day in the women's 2 week period. And this is the United Nations. This is our 65th convening on the Commission for the Status of Women. And we're looking from all across the spectrum and bringing in women to you to talk and tell you some of the things that they do, how to do some of the things that they do, and what the access is like for that, how they are faring, in the industry. I'm Yvonne Gamble, once again with you here, and I'm the co-founder of Women Leading Change Now. And as you know, we're a political advocacy organization, and we are one of the political advocates for the United Nations. So this is our charge to bring to you. But I got a treat. I got a treat up my sleeve that I am bringing to you. This woman, she even brought a treat with her. So this is Deborah Daniels, and she's all the way coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. And so we're going to let her tell us a little bit about who she is and just how she came about and what's so special about her. Deborah, it's so wonderful to have you here. We thank you for coming on and talking to the women around the world, and just tell them, who is Deborah Daniel?
Hi. Oh, Yvonne, thank you so much for having me. Who I am, gosh, that's a big one. But who I am really is, I think, the epitome of what women can be today. I have been doing the entrepreneurial journey for about 30 years. I am a CPA. That's my claim to fame, and that's the business that I own. But I take it a different step further. I am an entrepreneurial junkie. I think for women, owning a business is one of the best ways to break the glass ceiling. I mean, my clients don't pay me differently because I'm a woman, right? In the corporate world, we may be tied to, structures, and I think it is very true from the clients that I see that there still is a disparity in wages in the corporate world. But when you own your own business, you set your own prices. So I think that's that. I call it the ultimate glass ceiling breaker, right? I mean, because we get to decide what our value is worth, and we have to market and make that, value proposition to our clients. But we're the ones that are doing that, not some, board that sets salaries that somehow are not, coming out equal. But
That's right. Yeah,
I've been doing this for, like I said, this is my 29th year owning my firm. And I do everything that's related to money. I mean, I help clients make more, keep more, and grow more. And what I mean by that from the making standpoint is I help entrepreneurs, especially women, because I think the conversation about money in business is different for us as women. We think about money differently. We act differently with money. We spend money differently. And so I think it makes a difference that we have that spin on it when we're trying to help each other. I mean, not that I don't have any men clients, but who I coach the most and who I'm able to help the most is women business owners. So on the making side, I'm helping them increase their business, increase their profit, increase their revenue. And on the keeping side, it's tax season, obviously, right now. I'm helping them to keep more of the money that they make through taxes. I mean, I'm here in the United States, it's time for, it's tax season. But it's not just that. Your housing and your taxes in most countries, I know for sure here in the USA, are your two big expenses. So if you can manage those two expenses, the other ones are so small compared to that, right? And then the grow more money part is once we've, been able to bring more revenue in, which is kind of filling the bucket, when we've been able to keep it in there. So that's closing the holes in the bottom of the bucket. Let's expand that bucket, and grow what we have, right? And that's through helping investment and, just ideas, things that we aren't taught. And I think that's that's just really important because even here in the United States, one of the most advanced, financially countries that we have, there's not a mechanism for financial education in our educational system, really.
That's true.
Less than 4% of the high schools in our country have, any kind of personal finance as part of their curriculum. I'm lucky my kids went to a school where it was a required semester of that. But even that they're teaching is such a small part of what we need to know. And don't get me wrong, Yvonne, I don't think that life is about money, but the reality is everything that's important to life in life is impacted by money. So you
Mhm.
can't, I run into this a lot with my women business owner friends and associates and the people I network with, the people I help. I just want to serve. I don't want to, I don't need to do this for a profit.
Right. They seem not to have they seem to feel as though they should not earn or be the wage earner or the money earner. They feel, like you said, that they simply should just be there almost in a handout mode,
But
or
the
just
thing is,
waiting for
that just
someone to
doesn't
quit.
work, right? I mean, because one, you're not going to stay in business if you're not serving your client. I mean, that's
Right.
by definition, if you're not helping people, you're not going to stay in business, right? But you can't serve anyone if you can't keep your lights on, if you don't have a place to live, if you don't make money, right? And so I think that women need to flip the switch on that a little bit, not feel so icky about asking people for money, or and not that men 100% have this either, but they have it a little bit more down than we do as far as asking to be, knowing their worth, being willing to ask for their worth, be willing to ask people to pay for what they're doing. Because the thing is, and I love this whole I love the word currency. I mean, that's why the highest, we have the Office of the Comptroller of Currency is the one that handles the money. And it refers to an old-fashioned kind of term, which is the flow of money. Money doesn't do us any good if it's just sitting somewhere. But us moving it and doing commerce with each other, that flow of money it enhances everyone, right? When I spoke at an event right before the pandemic, one of the last events that I spoke at, it was actually someone that was talking about the UN goals as well. And we were talking about social entrepreneurship. And I just on the back of a piece of paper just really just added up quickly. In the 30 years almost that I've owned a business, I've had over 50 employees, and I've paid wages of over $4 million to those 50 employees over the years. Think about that. The ripple effect of that in the economy. My person works for me. That person then can pay the dancing school teacher to teach her daughter dance lessons, or they can go pay for, a house, or they can go pay for buying electronics at, the electronics store. But we just don't realize that the flow of the money is what's so important to keep things going. That money is multiplied over and over and over again. So the more we all try to make, the more everyone is elevated, right?
Exactly. That flow is about the same as when you're talking about the flow of air, the flow of water. Everything has a flow and ebb and tide to it, and definitely that money has to move. That's what they call currency,
exactly.
And that's how that word came about.
Exactly.
And commerce. If we're not moving commerce, if we're not moving the needle, then we're stagnant, and our economy becomes stagnant. Our gross product goes down, and that determines the value of our dollar. That's why our dollar is valued so high around the world, is because of the fact that we do move that money, and we move that money quickly, and we continue to turn that money over from person to person, company to people, throughout the world. And what you've done, you're absolutely right. Just looking at that, and if you could get more women to look at their business from the standpoint like you just did, that little that say, over the years, I have given, close to $4 million to 50 people, in my business. That is saying a lot. And that's one of the ways I think that we don't look at, just how much money we have put into the economy, and really, count that. And, as part of our value system and valuing ourselves. So it's working in your chosen industry, in there. What can you tell us? What is it like for women working in your particular industry?
I think it is different if you're in the entrepreneurial track versus the corporate track. It is still, in the finance, if we just look at finance, I'm a CPA, but I also help people with investments and things like that. Mortgage people, I don't do mortgages, but just in the finance in general, it's still a fairly male dominated field. Like when I go to conferences in the industry, it's still, women are not the majority in the room by any means whatsoever. But there's also an issue in our industry, period, in finance, that a lot of younger people are not coming into this industry. I've read a statistic recently that the average age of financial advisors, which is just one part of what I do, is like in their early 50s, So we don't have young people coming into the industry, male or female. So we really need to do some initiatives on that to get more people entering
Why
the
do you think
industry.
that is? I mean, considering, with all the different, financial options that are out there, we've got the Stash, you got the Cash App, we've got fintech is just going, the whole technical part of the finance industry. Why would people not be coming into this industry? I'm
Well,
not
I think
understanding.
from the traditional standpoint, probably because I think it is a lot more. The younger people are very much into doing things on apps and technology, and so I'm sure that part of the industry, which I mean, I was thinking more the advisor, the people side, probably
Right.
is probably blossoming. I mean, a lot more people in IT. I mean, that's an area that I don't know as much about, but the actual sit down across the table from a client and talk about their finances, talk about their taxes, that industry, the people in general are getting older. And so I'm not sure what the answer for that really is, but I think part of it is, I mean, I'm a very early, I was born, I think I'm right at the edge. I call myself a late boomer. I'm really not in the boomer, but I was right at the edge of the coom. But as the generations have happened, there's been less and less emphasis on, dress for success, like back in the 80s, and, work hard. It's all about work. I think the younger people are a little bit more, I mean, my observation, I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old. They seem to be a little bit more about work-life balance that we didn't kind of figure out quite so early. So, I mean, I think they perceive some of these more, some of these industries to be a little bit more work, work, and all about the hours and all about the time. And I don't know that that's really true, but I think that's a little bit the perception of some of the younger people. And they don't feel like they need to be doing all the face-to-face stuff. They've got their apps and those kind of things. But it is still fairly male dominated, but I would tell you it's a lot better than it was when I started in the early 90s. I mean,
Got it.
but which doesn't really make sense because, I mean, you may know this better, but I've seen some statistics about here in the US, how the majority of families, actually the woman is the primary breadwinner in more than 50% of the households. Now that's because we've got a lot of single mom households, but I mean, we have to step up if we're going to be the major breadwinner, I think.
Right, exactly. Have to step up and really understand what that role does and the impact, and also the impact on what the children are seeing and what they're seeing, the women do. And we cannot be trying to make money, especially, women, if you are the head of your household. And that's a wonderful thing. And you're doing a wonderful thing. I was a single mom for 9 years. And one of the things that you definitely have to do is those little eyes are on you. And they're not only simply watching, that, whether you have, food on the table, roof over your head, but they're seeing how you handle money. And that's going to directly impact how they handle money, and how, what you think about money, that's going to impact what they think about money. And like Deborah has said, it's a shame that our statistics are still low with economics, not being taught, in the schools. I'm pretty sure at the time when she went to school, when I went to school, you had to take economics 1 and 2, investing, you had to do all of that. It was not an option. Those were prerequisites to graduation. And now, when my kids went to school, hers went to school, those became options and electives, which is
just like the arts. It's the same thing. I mean, they're only
Yeah.
focusing on the math and English, which is super important. But the thing is, the reality is we have to be more well-rounded. I mean,
Right.
including the arts, including music, including sports, including financial knowledge. I mean, to just get kids out that can regurgitate some historical facts, is that preparing them for life? I mean, I don't know.
And that's going to be directly proportionate to what happens in our world, as we go forward in time. And that is something that, it's going to impact. It's truly going to impact us, and it's going to make a difference, in how we see the world, as we go forward. In the industry that you are in the financial services industry, with that, what it appears to me, you made a statement, and you said that like when you go to the meetings, you don't see a lot of women there, a lot of women represented. Is that truly indicative that a lot of women are not there? I'm in venture capital. And, of course, there's a lot of forums and, that sort of thing that you have. And there's always just a few women who are there, but it's truly not, it is not a good numbering to say there's not a lot of women in this industry.
I think that's true. I think that's really true. I think there might be more women in the industry, but maybe not at the full-time, all-in level. Because like a lot of the things that I go to are like the awards kind of things, and it's the top 100 in the country and things like that.
Exactly.
So they may not be the top producers, but I don't think it's because they're not capable of it. I just don't think they maybe are giving a full-time effort to it. Because I do think a lot of them do take it as more of a, I worked the whole time when my children were growing up. But I was actually able to be in the classroom more because I owned my own business. I was able to be in the classroom with them more. I did, I would go in and I taught entrepreneurship in the class and different things like that. But a lot of people don't have the flexibility. If you have a job, you can't say, hey, boss, I want to go hang out at my kid's classroom for a while. So a lot of them do step back. The reality is, when there is somebody stepping back, still today, it's the woman that's staying at home with children. I was very lucky to have a business that when somebody called and I was actually in my kid's classroom or whatever, my team just told them I was on an appointment or whatever. So I had the best of both worlds, I think. And I think entrepreneurship gives you that, because even from the perspective of just like, if you are, if you go to the orthodontist and your dentist says, hey, your daughter needs braces and that's $5,000, you can't go to your boss and say, hey, boss, I need $5,000 because, little girl needs braces. But when I have something like that happen, I think, okay, who else can I serve? Who else can I sell more to? Who else can I cover with? Who else can I follow up with? So I do think that, again, I'm as you can tell, I'm an entrepreneurial junkie. I love everything about the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Okay. Well, excellent. Well, that's it, ladies. Hey, you want to have more access to yourself and to others. Entrepreneurism is definitely the way to go. And you set the rules, you set the standards, and therefore it's not the industry. I can say this, it's not the industry for the faint of heart. Deborah is a go-getter. She's a worker. She's been at this for, some 20 plus years. And I'm pretty sure, when she got started, like she says, back in the 90s and today, things are, a little bit different and it's easier, but she kept going.
It's easier, but it's easier in general, though, Yvonne. When I started my business in the early 90s, to buy one computer with a huge, big monitor, you had to spend like $5,000, to just get a computer and a monitor.
I remember those days.
Now access to that kind of technology, I could put a whole new network in my office, 10 workstations for $5,000. So I do think it's almost easier now to get started in a lot of these industries. But if you just want to be in, the barriers to entry, I think, are so much less than they were. And I think women, I actually have clients that will sometimes call me and say, I was looking for a woman accountant. People are seeking out women to do certain things just because I feel like we're a little bit more intuitive sometimes. And it's not just about the black and white, what's the dollars and cents, and they want a little bit more of that, right? So I do think it's a great time to be a woman in business.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we definitely can't get away from, 2020. I think 2020, the roaring 20s, and 20 definitely, if 1920 didn't make a big impact enough on us, 2020 did.
Yes.
So,
2020 was an interesting year. We're almost exactly at a year of when really things started locking down here in the US. It's hard to believe a whole year has passed by, but I don't think you can talk to anyone and they would say that they did exactly what they expected to be doing in 2020, or that they were doing exactly the same thing. So many people talk about pivoting. I don't really like the word pivot. I feel like we evolved because of it. And I think what it really, if the people that are coming out of this strong, because I do feel like we're kind of starting to come out of it, are the ones that kept going the whole time, that weren't kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, but it really is an evolution. I mean, having done this for nearly 3 decades, this was the current problem. And so it was the weirdest problem I've ever had in 30 years of business, because it wasn't money related or numbers related or economy related. I mean, we had like a cranking economy, and then all of a sudden it just, the brakes went on because we didn't know what was going on. This little teeny microscopic thing was impacting all of our lives, right? But I think there's some good things that have come out of it. I do think that the borders have been erased a little bit. And maybe we took maybe a decade forward jump into how much we were going to be, virtual like we are now. And most people that I know that have thrived in it were in an industry that they weren't. I think the real problem is if you were in an industry, I mean, our industry was not that impacted because so much of it can be done remotely. We had a secure portal already for clients to send their things. When it was really bad, we were letting people drop their stuff off and we were just not letting them come in the office. But what really was bad for 2020 were any people that had to, the restaurants, the hair salons, the massage therapists, anybody that had to touch people or be in really like contact with people, I think are still feeling the brunt of it. But the biggest thing to me, I mean, I remember in late March when the stock market kind of went crazy, I did a Facebook Live for my clients and I was like, calm down. This is not, a global financial markets craziness like, back in 2008. And the reality is you have to be ready. If it's not this wave, some other wave is going to come, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so it's really more concerning that they freaked out about what happened with the pandemic. It's really that they didn't have a plan to begin with. And I think that's what should come out of this more than anything, that you need to shore up what you've got going on, because if it's not the pandemic wave, it's going to be another wave. And the problem is they just don't have a plan to begin with. I mean, forget an emergency plan. They don't have a regular plan.
And that you're absolutely right there. In the area, of financing, I find that people come, they want to get money, they don't have a business plan, they have no financial strategy. And I'm pretty sure when you come, you probably have gotten away from taking on clients who come with the shoebox of receipts. You don't take that anymore.
Well, that or we charge them a lot.
Went through that. So like you said, those that don't have a plan to begin with, and those, the ones who, the planners will always succeed no matter what is happening. So I know you have I want to hear, and I want the audience to hear and to understand. I want to let's give Deborah some time to kind of tell us about this Profit Path ebook.
Awesome. Yeah, actually, if you go to this website, the www Money Reimagined, I basically have put together some of the highlights of several of this. I speak around the country. I can't wait to speak live around the country. I've been speaking virtually around the country all the time. And I talk a lot, again, based on, I believe the easiest way to create wealth is to own a business. It's really hard to do that when you're working for someone else. And so that's why I focus a lot on the profit and about revenue. And so in this ebook, I put some of my little gems that I give when I speak, and I go into a little bit more detail than I do when I speak. A lot of times when I'm speaking, I have 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So I'll give like bullet points, but the profit, it's actually a revenue fast track ebook. It's the Profit Path. And it just talks about different ways that you can raise your revenue, that you don't always have to go out and look for new customers. I'm a huge believer that once a buyer, always a buyer, and really you should go deeper with fewer people than trying to serve everybody in the world. It's just hard. It's disjointed. And I just give a lot of my just things that I personally have done to help scale to 7 figures, have other people scale to multiple 6 and 7 figures. And it's got some really great tips in there about how to get revenue, what the revenue buckets I feel like everybody should have, and how to get to those revenue buckets.
Okay, well, excellent. So everybody, you heard it here first. Go out, get your Profit Path ebook, go out to www.moneyreimagined.com and make sure that you have that, because you definitely will need 10 streams of income, and they need to be shored up. And that's between passive and active income.
I talk a lot about that.
Exactly. Pull down this information. This is here for you. So it's no excuses, no reason that when we're talking and we're talking about our 66th year, that anybody is saying, I don't have the money, I can't succeed. No reason not to. So what I want to do is, obviously we know we're here, with at the United Nations, and we're speaking to women, around the world. And one of the biggest issues that we all probably can say we have or we have dealt with, and we are trying to eradicate, and that is equality. And in your industry, it sounds like it's pretty much levels the playing field no matter what.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, because most people in this field are, it's performance based. I mean, you don't sell things, you don't help people, you don't make money. And so I don't think the fact that you're a man or a woman is really the determining factor. It's how hard you want to work, really. And I don't think there's any, I would say, barriers to entry in this industry as far as if you're a man or a woman. Honestly, there's a lot of initiatives. Almost every financial company has things where they're trying to help women become more active in the industry, from the financial side. And then of course, entrepreneurship, everybody has access. But I do think that they're just in general, that access to capital. I mean, I think we're so lucky in the United States because we do have access to capital. I mean, from what I know about other countries, because I consume this financial information, economic information like candy a little bit, that the problem is some of the other countries in the world don't have as good access to capital, period, and certainly not access to capital for women. And you have to have capital. Just like back in 1992, I had to have money to buy that first computer. I had to have money to rent an office space. That's, I think, the really biggest determining barrier for anyone, trying to make more money, especially women, because I do think that sometimes it's still a little bit harder to access capital for women than it is for men.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I will say this, what makes it hard for you to access that capital is not because you are a woman. It is because of the very things that Deborah came on and said initially. Being a venture capitalist and being in the venture capital industry, I can tell you with marked certainty, I've been in this industry for 35 years. And what I see, I've seen it again and again and again, and that is coming to the table without a plan, without an ironclad business plan, an ironclad financial strategy, and the value that you're going to actually bring to whomever, whether you're asking money for a sponsor, whether you're going to a commercial lender, or whether you're going to an angel investor or a venture capitalist and you're trying to get money. It doesn't matter. You have to have a plan. You have to be able to clearly convey that plan to someone. And that will be the determining factor. Exactly. Women are by far, have set up, some funds, and women have had funds for years where they give to other women and they fund other women's businesses. They do sponsorships, all of these types of things. But what you can't do is you cannot be timid. You have to come and you have to be strong in what you are doing and what you want to do. And you have to convey to whomever you're going to how you're going to repay, or how you're going to make money for them, or how you can help them to market their services that they have. So you have to be clear about it. So let's not, I don't want us to rest on this, where women, it's like somebody standing there in the doorway holding you out, because most certainly if you look at a woman like Deborah, how she did her business as a CPA, she stepped out and she's doing her business herself. She could just as well have gone to an Arthur Andersen and or Deloitte and Touche and worked for them, and probably not has been as happy, not been able to be with her children, not being able to be all over the world, giving out, her speeches and speaking on these very types of things, or have written some of the books that she wrote had she worked within the corporate confines. She decided not to do that. And so she didn't say, well, I can't do this because somebody won't give me some money. She's like, I've got a talent. I have a product, I have a service that I can provide. And so therefore, I'm going to go to people and I'm going to offer that service, and that's going to give me the money I need. So there's always, if there's a will to do something, there's always a way to do it. And
Sounds
with that, Deborah, I'm going to give you the last words to, to bring forward to the ladies and the gentlemen, who are watching.
Well, awesome. Well, I think the like a parting thought again is the biggest thing is money is not what life is about. But the reality is, again, everything that is important is impacted by money and having money to be able to do that. Not just for ourselves, because the reality is when good people make good money, they do good things. I mean, I've just seen it. I've experienced it myself. I've seen hundreds of clients that live by that tenet. And I think we have to all realize that whole flow, the better we all do, the better everyone does, right? Because as that money is flowing, as I make more money so that I can pay more people, and those people can go and buy goods and services, as I think we need to flip the switch a little bit on the whole conversation about money and realize that it's just a tool and not have the attitude that against people that are doing things. Again, I did this not because I had a ton of capital, because I worked hard for 30 years, and people don't realize that it's really about working hard and helping other people. It pays off. I think that's what I would want to leave people with, that anybody could do it. I started at zero 29 years ago, and I have a fairly big business now. And like I said, I've employed 50 people. I've spent $4 million in wages from nothing. And so just find the information. If you don't know what it takes to start a business, there's tons of resources out there. If you don't know about money, there's tons of resources out there. And just be willing to step out there and get the information that you need so that you know what the next step is, I think would be my parting thoughts.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. And with that, we're going to thank Deborah Daniels so much for coming on board and speaking to us and giving us some of these wealth success tips and pathways to success. And we look forward to having her back, on the show sometime to talk to us a little bit more. There's a lot more in here. There's a lot more to this lady that you didn't even get a chance to even touch on. But that's it for us for now. And we want to thank you again. And thank you and have a great day.
You too.